Hello and welcome to Washington Exec's video series. I'm Amanda Ziadeh with Washington Exec, and today we'll be talking about maximizing the customer experience of federal agencies. So to start, I'd like to just note that federal healthcare and social services serve an important function in Americans' lives. From Social Security to financial assistance to Medicare, these services are available to citizens from the time they're born until well after retirement. And as more and more of these services migrate their mission critical functions online, it's imperative that users have access to a platform that is functional, efficient, and user friendly. Here to talk to us about the importance of the customer experience at healthcare and social services federal agencies is Steve Sousa, Senior Vice President of the Health and Social Services Practice at CGI Federal. Steve has built a 20-year career modernizing the healthcare systems that many Americans rely on today. And in his career, he's deployed systems at a wide range of federal agencies, including at HHS and at the Social Security Administration. Thank you so much for joining me today, Steve.
Absolutely. Great to be with you.
All right. So, as we mentioned, federal healthcare and social services serve a critical function in Americans' lives from the time a child is born and is issued a Social Security number up until they can collect Social Security, retirement income, and Medicare. Can you give us examples of just how many potential touch points the average American encounters with federal agencies, especially as it pertains to health and social services, and how are those services keeping up with the times?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful question. We live in an age where technology has enabled and transformed so much of what we do, even in the near term, the last 5-10 years even. We've really migrated from what we started to envision to actual capability in large part on the private sector. We have sectors like transportation, the insurance, and finance sectors really leading the way with a lot of these initiatives and innovation. And the customer experience is really something that our citizens on the government side are also expecting to see and have. So we've been able to enable that. And again, like you said, from cradle to grave. So we've got opportunities from when a child is born and a person's born and the application of a Social Security number, child welfare services. We've got insurance-related support when you're of age to enroll in Medicare. And you've got Social Security benefits as well, which we'll soon enough realize at some point in our lives. And then, in the instances where disability insurance is necessarily as well, those are areas where some touch points exist, and that's just in the civilian space, not to include what we've seen in the military health space as well.
And you've worked on major system rollouts, which impact millions of Americans. As we hit the stride of the gray wave of retiring baby boomers, how do you recommend the customer experience in these systems be enhanced to facilitate usability?
I don't think people realize really just how many of us are actually getting to that age. So that's doubled since 2000. You literally have 10,000 people reaching the age of 65 every day. And these are experienced, informed, and educated users that have demands that they've seen on the private side. Sectors that I already mentioned, transportation, finance and insurance, and they want to see those things in the government space as well. Two areas or items that I would probably highlight or recommend in those instances to maximize the customer experience for agencies in general is one, having a partner that understands their environment. It's not just slapping on a really pretty front end. It is the interoperability and connectivity with peripheral systems, some of which are legacy and have been there for decades, that haven't had the opportunity to modernize or experience digital transformation. So a long-standing partner that understands that space and can help do that successfully is really important. And then I think one other thing that we've seen create agency success is really taking the role seriously and creating a customer experience office along with an officer to oversee those needs, so that that transformation to modernization and digital transformation happens, keeping the agency's mission in mind. Those are the two things that I would cite.
And what are some of the ways the customer experience is becoming a priority for federal agencies?
I think, well, actually, there are a number of ways. And again, most recently, I think that's been only more pronounced and highlighted let's take the last 2 years alone. You had the previous administration's president management agenda, pointing funds and direction toward, funding to enable the modernization efforts of a number of agencies, particularly those with high touch points and high customer access and expectation. And then with the more recent administration under Biden and the creation of the FY22 skinny budget and directing funds toward that enablement as well. And far-reaching back from those two examples from a policy example is you've got these things being reinforced through OMB guidance and agency mandates. So those are important to operationalize, how people are actually performing in these efforts. And also what I find fascinating is the creation of the high impact service providers and that designation amongst and across agencies with high touch points, so that every quarter they're actually briefing out, their success on how they're reaching modernization and being able to learn from each other. So those are a couple of examples that I would cite in terms of the government supporting and driving those functions.
Yeah, so you've laid out a few suggestions as to how to improve the customer experience at federal agencies. Can you talk to us a bit about recent projects already at play?
I can. There are a number, both that we've led as CGI Federal and other partners as well, whether that be from Silicon Valley and the longer and larger system integrators. A couple of things that I think we're very proud of and that we've recently enabled is an online transaction and payment system within the Medicare space. And just over the last 2 years alone, that's realized over $1 billion worth of funds going through that, which is extraordinary for the period of time that's been enabled. Another example I think that is very interesting is a number of folks actually enrolling through these on-site online capabilities, and that's increased year over year by over 500%, which is extraordinary. We've done a few pilots too, along with our partners that are really interesting. So we're again helping our government folks keep up with the private sector, and things that were envisioned as pilots, like some of the CMS apps that they've started with have actually been downloaded for over 500,000 times already. So again, pointing to not just the capability, but the thought leadership on the government side to enable some of these things and make them successful. People are eager to adopt and employ them. So those are a few things that I would share.
Well, thanks for sharing that with us. And finally, what are you seeing as the future of services, particularly when it comes to supporting the needs for the increasingly connected Americans with federal agencies?
I hate to bring this up because you hear it every day, but COVID-19 as a pandemic is certainly not something that any of us would have envisioned, but it has been an immense driver for adoption and creativity and success from a virtual perspective and a technology perspective. I think agencies that wouldn't go near trying to work remotely and envisioning their services to still be 100% compliant and on point, that just wouldn't have happened. And that's been the case, and they've done so seamlessly, which points, I think, to the adaptive leadership at these agencies that we currently have and the drive towards technology. If you were to ask maybe three things that I think would be real drivers, I would say from a mobile perspective, that remains top of mind. I think as we continue through this journey together, I think people are just getting more and more comfortable with transactions online, whether it be on phone or through an iPad. I also think AI is interesting, although I think maybe not quite up to marketing standards, but I do think it's not far behind. I think there's a lot of value there, and we're not far from it, but maybe not quite as enabled as we'd like for now. But that's shortly coming. And I think the last thing that I would cite is not exactly a sexy tool, but certainly a valuable one, and that's RPA and robotic process automation. At one agency alone, We've probably cited over 100 use cases where there could be potential savings from that approach. Of maybe the 3 to 5 that we've implemented so far, we've already realized over $100 million worth of savings, which goes directly back to the agency and can be used for things like retraining for existing staff to better enable and support the customer experience, and is a direct return on investment for the American citizen. So those are probably the things that I would cite.
Those transformations and transitions have seemed very interesting from the citizen perspective as well. So it's good that you note those. But thank you so much, C, for sharing these insights with us today. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda. It's been a pleasure.